It is time for a book review. The book is written by Bob Iger, of course, the current head of Disney. And the book is called The Ride of a Lifetime. And you may have heard about this book because a couple of weeks ago, before the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, Bob Iger did the rounds, the media rounds, talked about his book, and also spilled the beans on some of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes while they were making The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And it had a lot of information that we hadn't heard before, because Disney is very good at keeping secrets. And there's always something going on behind the scenes. Just Google, Star Trek rumors on YouTube, and you will see tons and tons of conspiracy theories and fans, starting wars because of how they perceive Disney is maltreating franchises or making the wrong decisions or the right decisions. But this was one of the few times that we've gotten a little bit of a glimpse behind the scenes of what was truly going on. And it was fascinating material. So that made me want to read the entire book. And what I discovered was that the book is actually it's a tutorial. It's a book with lessons. It wants to really teach you how to become a better leader. And a lot of the experiences that Bob Iger is sharing are lessons that you can extrapolate from his personal situation as the head of Disney, and apply it to your own life. And that's what I want to do in this short review. I want to take 5 pieces of advice that he talks about in the chapters of this book, but that I can also apply to my own life as a priest and as someone who's also working in the media, but on a totally different scale, of course, and in a different area of expertise as Disney is. And the 5 pieces of advice, just summarize them, is have a relentless pursuit of perfection. So always try to do what you do, but do it really above mediocre. Never go for just a 7 out of 10 points, but go for the 10. The second piece of advice is don't think in problems, but think in solutions. Again, it sounds very cliche, but he gives a lot of examples on how he applies that as a manager of Disney. Third lesson is don't be a pessimist, because people don't follow pessimists. Be an optimist. Be always forward-looking. I'll go into detail how I'm trying to apply those lessons to my own life. The fourth lesson is don't let your ego grow too big. So don't let your selfishness, your how you want to be perceived, etc. Don't let that get in the way of what needs to be done, or what is good for the company, or what is good for the future of your projects. So be careful with your ego, or at least be aware of your ego. And then the fifth one, that's maybe the one that I love the most. Be bold. It's as simple as that. Boldly go where no one has gone before. Okay, Star Trek is not Disney property, but still, it's that same idea. Be bold, dare to take chances. Well, the reason that these 5 lessons struck a chord with me is that I have a lot of personal experiences that make me relate to these pieces of advice. So let me fill them in a little bit. The relentless pursuit of perfection. This is both, I think, it's very good advice. It can also be very dangerous advice. Let me start with the danger. I am, let's say as a habit, I am a perfectionist. I really want what I do, I want it to be perfect. And I spent way more time than is actually healthy on recording my shows, on making YouTube videos, on putting together documentaries, even filming. I spent so much time not just thinking about what is my message, but also perfecting the form. To give you an example, when I first started in the world of television, I was just a presenter. I didn't write my own text. The only thing that they asked me was to step in front of a camera and deliver those lines. Hey, I'm Father Roderick, and today we're going to watch this documentary about Sister so-and-so who works among the poor in this or that city. Enjoy. And then I would wrap it up with similar words. And then over time, I was observing how other people around me made those documentaries. I didn't film anything. And I was very eager to learn. And I was also, and this is also partially because I've studied communications in Rome and did some, well, I studied how to make television. Of course, I never had a job in television before that, so I'd never been able to put it into practice. But I was very critical about the programs that I needed to present on television, because, and that's the funny thing, people do think that I filmed everything, even though you hear the voice of a lady who did the interview, but they still think that I was there next to the camera. And I loved some of the things. I disliked some of the other topics that we did. And at one point, I was like, well, I want to give it a try. I want to try to film my own documentary. So that's what I did. And I spent about a week, day and night, editing that together. I had to teach myself how to use Avid. It was an editing program, very professional editing program. It was such a hard learning curve, but I just worked day and night to master it. And I remember that the day before I had to deliver the end product, the final show, I showed it to a friend of mine who also is an editor, and he gave me feedback, basically telling me it's okay, it's not bad for someone who does this for the first time, but if I would edit it, I would first do this, and then I would take this part of the story and put it there, and you would get much more cohesion in the story. I would change the music. So normal people probably would have said, oh, well, I'll keep that in mind for the next time. And, well, I did my best, and it's definitely not bad. What did I do? I spent 24 hours awake. I didn't go to sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't take a minute off. And I completely re-edited that entire episode along the lines of the advice that I got. And it totally broke me. It took me 2 weeks to recover from that. But I just wanted my first documentary to be perfect. Many years later, I look back at that first episode and I was like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? I did not know what I was doing, but it's not bad. But over time, because I kept doing this and I wanted to get better at it, so I taught myself how to film. And at first I had a very mediocre camera, and then I got a better one. I started to watch tutorials on YouTube. I started to, put more shows together myself. And I constantly wanted to improve my craft and perfect what I did. And even now, that's what I'm still doing with YouTube. Same thing. I'm recording videos, but I'm studying, well, not day and night, but I've spent a considerable amount of time in following tutorials on how to grow an audience on YouTube, how to make sure that videos work. I set up a green screen, some extra lights. I got a new camera. I was like, well, I need to stay on topic, so I need something to remind me when I'm watching the camera. I want to have something in my face that shows me, okay, next point that you're going to discuss is this and that. So I got a small auto cue or a teleprompter in front of me. So I'm never content with what it is. I always want to go to the next level. So I'm working for television. I've got 30 television episodes per year, which is considerable. And I make all of them with a little bit of help from my friends and colleagues. But that's not where I want to end. My next goal is to make something that you could show on Netflix or, I don't know, Disney Plus. Why not? Just try to get to the next level of quality. I want to start working in 4K. I want to become better at not just at filming, but interviewing, keep building up a story arc, etc. for my documentary. So that first, and the trick, I should say the tricky thing is how to balance that, how to balance health and also allowing yourself to grow, and at the same time, always stay hungry, as Steve Jobs would put it. Stay hungry. Always try to aim for the next step that you can take. And I think that is more what Bob Iger tries to communicate. Is never think that you're there, but always try to go the extra mile and try to improve what you do. The second advice that he gives is don't just present problems, but also provide solutions. This is something that is extremely important in my life as a priest. I've seen a lot of bitter Catholics, disappointed Catholics, Catholics that complain that, oh, in my parish, oh, it's terrible, oh, the choirs, oh, the pastor, oh, the bishop, oh, the pope. And all they do is complaining. And they kind of seek each other's company, and now with social media, of course, that is very easy. And then they just go on these rants and say, oh, have you seen what the Pope has said now? And they don't even verify if it's truly what he said, but it's just moaning, complaining. If only we had the previous Pope or the next Pope. It's like, well, but that's not productive. What's much more important is you can signal a problem, but make sure that it's not just a frustration, but try to, where's my frustration coming from? What is, in my view, the real problem? And can I do something to make the situation better? It's something that you see in the first episode of Star Trek Picard, where Jean-Luc Picard, no spoilers, is very frustrated about the situation in the world, the situation of Starfleet, but his impulse is, well, engage. Literally, he engages in the situation and tries to do what he can do to improve the situation. That is leadership. And that is something that I should always be aware of in my parish, in my work that I do, the team that I work with at Tridio, my media company. Don't just complain about things that are going wrong or that are not what you want it to be, but think ahead, make a plan B, make a plan C if necessary, and put time and resources and energy into providing solutions and getting people on board to better a situation. But don't stop with just the complaining, because that leads to the dark side. Third piece of advice that Bob Iger gives in his book, don't be a pessimist, because no one wants to follow a pessimist. How true is that? No one likes someone who is only complaining. You know that from your personal experience. We all have that family member or friend that at a party, that person sits down and is like, oh, that's never going to work. That's never going to improve. Ugh, the climate change, the world is going to fall in disarray. Oh, it's never going to work anymore. Oh. Or people are sometimes like that towards themselves, super negative, always criticizing themselves. And what that's kind of not my thing. I am usually very easily pleased. I get enthusiastic about things, and for me, what I try to do in what I post on YouTube, what I talk about in my podcasts, I always want to be positive. I'm an optimist, not naive, but my optimism is rooted in hope. I always have hope that people can outgrow the problems, that we can always find solutions if we put our mind to it. Never despair, never surrender. Always look for the bright side. Even in people that irritate you, always try to empathize. Well, what could be his or her problem? Even though I may not always be able to solve it, but always try to look at is there a solution for this? And so, and I think that this positivity is why people follow me on YouTube. I think if I would ask my followers, why did you hit that subscribe button and the bell button, of course, so people get notified, but why did you hit that subscribe button? It is, and I get that a lot in the reactions in the comments, it's because you're so positive. I mean, the Rise of Skywalker came out, and like 99% of the reviews on YouTube were terrible or negative. People were complaining and ranting, and then we saw you standing outside of the the theater in Amsterdam, and you were just one explosion of joy, and it's infectious, and it gave me hope, and it made me want to go see the movie. And you were right; it was so much better than everyone said it was. So people love to follow optimists and not pessimists. And for me, it's not something I have to force myself to do. It's just me. I love to be enthusiastic about things, but apparently it's something that people crave and need. Fourth piece of advice, don't let your ego get in the way. Very important to, I think this is something that also appeals to me, and it's something that my mother taught me. Always stay humble, even though you can be very good at things, but never brag about it. Just relativize who you are and what you do, because humility is a virtue. But it also will prevent you from blocking things or blocking others because of your ego. The world is not about you. Even your life is not about you. And I think that's a very important Christian value, is that our life is not ours. We are meant to be givers. And one of the ways in which the Virgin Mary, for me, is such an icon of who I am supposed to be, is her humility. I am the servant of the Lord. That is her entire attitude. Let it be done according to your will. And I try to be like that in my life, and to always, even though people may praise me, when I was young, I had trouble accepting praise. And I was like, oh, it's terrible what I did, and it's not good at all. And I've learned over time that it's okay to be proud and to be happy with what you've done. But what for me is very important in my own lifestyle is to always realize that what I'm able to do is because it's been given to me. That's the whole idea of talents in the gospel. God gave me talents, gave you talents, but He wants us to use those talents. You don't have to bury them in the ground. Actually, would be a bad thing to do. But always be conscious of the fact that you can only do that because it was given to you as something that you can that can help other people. So always put your talents at the service of others, and that will make you so much happier than egotism. Literally, a selfish world is a lonely world. But if you want to be there for others, if you can share what you have been given, that will make you. There's nothing more gratifying than to be able to make someone else happy and to give away what you have. Final piece of advice almost speaks for itself. Be bold. Be daring. Same thing as what Steve Jobs said in the famous commencement speech at a university campus. Be hungry. Stay hungry. Dare to take chances. Dare to step out of your comfort zone. I'm very much a hobbit in many aspects. I like to be alone. I like to sit at the fireplace and read a book. But I've also learned that the moments that I've really changed and for the better or learned something is the moments that I dare to step out of that bubble and go on an adventure. So you have to have that Tookish side in you as well, and listen to it. Instead of just staying in the Shire where everything is predictable and comfortable, challenge yourself. Maybe not all the time, but as soon as you feel like I'm kind of stuck in the situation, I'm repeating myself, I'm doing what I've always done, and I'm a little bit too comfortable with that, challenge yourself to go past that. And that's also true in terms of what I do in the media. Set yourself goals that are a little bit beyond your reach. Like when you can't swim, you don't think, well, I'm going to jump in this swimming pool. But if you tell yourself, well, I want to learn how to swim, I'm going to challenge myself, and yes, I'm going to jump into the water and have someone help me to survive. Well, that's kind of how you can approach life as well. Be bold and dare to fail. Being bold is not always about success. It's also try stuff, evaluate, and try again. And if necessary, walk away from things, readjust, improve. But if you never step out of your comfort zone, you will never grow and you will never learn. That's kind of the summary of the lessons that I learned from Bob Iger in his latest book. Highly recommended. It's interesting, not just because of all the Disney and Star Wars anecdotes, but also because of the life lessons that he gives.